Before we start the conversation, I just want, it's impossible not to say that all of our hearts are with the people of Lebanon, with the people of Beirut. I urge everyone to look at the ACC Twitter account. There are lots of links there to NGOs, to places where you can go to support the people that we love, our colleagues, the people we don't even know. But the pain is tremendous. I'm not somebody that believes very much in moments of silence. I believe in moments of noise.
Action, yeah. We are all devastated. It's a tragedy. With all our heart and soul, we are with the Lebanon and our friends in Lebanon and all the Lebanese people. It's a tragedy. Yeah, I don't believe in moment of silence as you. I believe in action.
Absolutely. So let's start a little bit. I don't know if you saw on Monday, there was a very funny thing that happened in the United States, which is that the White House advisor for USAID, which used to actually do good things in places like Palestine and now has been completely destroyed. The US advisor went on this Twitter screed, this stream, which got her fired, where she complained about various things that the US were supporting, including, she said, US-funded Tunisian LGBT soap operas aren't America, which I think is hilarious because, first of all, as far as I know, no, there are no LGBT Tunisian soap operas, nor are there any US-funded Tunisian soap operas.
I mean, you're asking me what I think about Trump's administration and what they're doing?
No, I'm not asking that at all.
Yeah, I know. Maybe there is a soap opera LGBT, but maybe performing outside Tunisia. Maybe. I have no idea. But it's just crazy. I have no comments.
Yeah, no, I don't think there is a comment to be made. I just needed to throw that out as another instance of ridiculousness, and it would be a wonderful thing if the US ever supported a Tunisian soap opera.
It would be wonderful, of course. They should start, by the way.
Exactly. Anyway, now that I've gotten that over with, Dora, one of the things I wanted us to discuss today is that we live in our world's very much a privileged film festival bubble, a privileged international film festival bubble. But it's also something that can be quite tricky to negotiate, because for you as somebody who's very much grounded in your country, you have a love of country, you're working within your country, and yet you're also very much comfortable on the international scene, very much au fait with a global perspective. And reading interviews that you've done with Western newspapers, with Western magazines, I was wondering how you negotiate your tone. How do you negotiate who you're directing your comments to, how you do that? Do you have to keep on tailoring yourself to the audience that you know is going to receive these words?
I'm not very good at that, let me tell you, but I don't think I tailor myself or according to the audience in front of me. I think my particularity is that I had a very special childhood where I had I was surrounded with people with, I mean, like in a hospital, in a mental hospital, because my father was working there, or in an orphanage, the only orphanage. So I learned very, very soon, very early, at an early age, not to tailor my speech. Some like it, some don't. Many don't like it. I'm aware of it. But of course, as a human being, I have to sometimes, of course. But in general, I don't do it. I say what I believe what I want to say. I try to be true to that.
And
it's
what about
that I move? I'm sorry, Jay.
No.
It's true that I'm at ease in Tunisia, in Burkina Faso, in Togo, in New York, in London, in anywhere. But the people make the difference, not the country. The people I go to, the people I work with, the people I contribute to any work with, make the difference, not the country, not the place. So I try to be with people with whom I am at ease.
Right. And what about the expectations that you have to feel, that when people outside of the MENA region, for example, hear that you're a Tunisian woman film producer, there's this disconnect, I think, between the reality on the ground in the MENA region and the perception of what actually is happening in the region. And how do you distinguish that?
You know, the surprise or the astonishment that, you know, there is a woman director or a woman producer, mainly because a woman to be a producer is more known as a masculine job than a feminine, even though it's being feminized this last decade. The surprise comes from the West more than from the East.
Yes, exactly.
Paradoxically, it really comes from the West and not from the East. It's paradoxically in the Arab world or in sub-Saharan Africa. I mean, it is natural. It is normal. I'm a producer, no matter if I am a man or a woman. Okay, but the astonishment comes from the West.
And how do you deal with that when you're pitching a project for international co-productions, when you're looking for funding, let's say from film funds? How frustrating is that? Where do you go in your mind to say, okay, this is how I have to pitch this?
I mean, the question is, how do I start? Is that the question?
Not so much how did you start, because that could be actually another conversation to get into. But I'm thinking more along lines of when you're looking for film international co-production money. What are the expectations? Are you feeling like that there are expectations that you have to combat, that you have to push aside in order to open up for outsiders?
Yeah.
The fact that there are so many voices in Tunisia.
Yeah, there are many voices in Tunisia. There are many voices in the Arab world, very different from one another. The subjects they tackle are very, very different and told so far. And you know, there is this freshness that really in the choice of subjects and in their treatment, which is really amazing. I tend to push other people. I'm not very good at, even though in our labs and workshops, with the people we accompany, you know, for the projects for the development of their projects, we tell them how, you know, I don't like very much the word pitch, but how to talk about one's subject, how to talk about one's project. But when I'm best person. But luckily, for the films I produce, and the same like Mohammed Ben Atiyah or Rajat. Mohammed Ben Atiyah, I've been working from the beginning with the same people, which is amazing. With the same French producer, same sales agent, same co-producer in Belgium, and that's really, really a luxury. That's really a luxury. With other people, like other filmmakers, especially in documentaries, I quite like the idea of dealing with other young people from elsewhere, and let them the lead. For example, for Suad, the Egyptian film, I co-produced with Samah, Mohammed Hifzi, and it's so nice to see, even though we were with him, with Aitan, of course, the director, and Samah, this young, fantastic producer from Egypt. He is amazing. He is amazing. So yes, we tend to sit, you know, on the side to let other people. Yeah, of course.
But how involved do you get, for example, in the development of the script? whether it's documentary or fiction. How much guidance do you feel you're giving, or does it really depend on the director?
The people I produce usually, I mean, I've always said that it's so tough to produce, but if you're not passionate about it, if you know, but and why? I mean, if you are passionate, it means that you want to see the result at the end, the way you know you envision it with the director, with the author. So I tend to be very intrusive, I'm afraid, if I'm not satisfied. And the people I work with quite like that. I don't work with many people. For example, Mohammed Ben Ataya, I really love working with him because I love working with Raja. With Aitan, it was fantastic because I wasn't meant to produce the film, but I liked so much the script that we had in development in Sud Écriture, in the framework of Sud Écriture. And I was so sad to see that after the workshop, the project wasn't going any further. And I said, it's a pity. It's such a beautiful story. The refinement of the treatment is so impressive. And that's how we got together with Hafzi Samah, and we said, okay, let's do it with little money, but let's do it. And it was very, very nice to work with Aitan, you know, script-wise, editing, you know, for example, for the shoot, she will send, you know, before she will send the pictures of the cast, and we will discuss that. It's really nice. It doesn't work with many, maybe directors, but it worked with some, and that's why we only produce very few people at Nomadis with Lena. Few people, because we have this intrusive way, maybe, which cannot suit everybody.
I'd love to have you define what intrusive means for you.
Maybe you should ask Mohammed or Ajay. I will not, if I'm not convinced, I will try to convince. I say, maybe this, I mean, I know it's nicer this way, for example, but here, I don't think the character is very plausible in this, you know, discussion. It's very interesting. This is the best part, actually, in production. It's not looking for money, I can assure you. It's more, you know, this nice conversation, discussion with the director about the script, about everything else. Editing is something I love, really. If I had another life, I would have been an editor.
So do you get into the editing suite with the director and really work?
Oh my God, I spend hours. I love that.
But it's the fundamentals of film.
Yeah.
Without editing, there's no rhythm, there's no nothing.
Yeah. So I know that I cannot. I also do that with many people. I did not produce, like Noura Dreams by Hind Boujama, or many other from Egypt, from Lebanon, from Dakar, from many places, and I can give that as much as I give to someone I produce, just because I think that path is the best path for the film, for the story, for, you know, for the market. We try to think it like that, and that's how I think what really matters for me is le travail bien fait. How do you say that? You know, when the result is there. Mm-hmm. It cannot be admired or liked by everybody, but at least when you are satisfied, that's important.
How important do you feel are script workshops? I mean, you're talking about working on the script with the director themselves or the script writer, but then of course there are also script workshops. Do you think that that's something that's often necessary, or do you prefer to make it more personal in your interaction, a sort of one-on-one?
The workshop, I mean, like the one I've been conducting since more than 20 years now, is exactly. It's mainly on script, you know. We are never more than 5 people, 5 participants.
Okay.
I think it's the best part of our work, and we have the luck and the really, really, we are very lucky to work with a fantastic scriptwriter who follows us, has been following us for decades, Jacques Fieschi. And we really, what matters is to find that red line in the script, you know, why the author, the intention, to really dig and to find the intention of the author. And once he finds it, it's much easier. So, and there is a huge generosity among the participants. They can be one from Lebanon, the other from Egypt, Tunisia, or Burkina Faso, or Dakar, you know, 5 people. It depends on the selection. And they're all at the service of the script we are working on, you know, that day, or and it's really, really nice, you know, because people, and because everyone has read the script of the other, while we are working on the script of, for example, of your script today, the others very quickly see what are the assets and the weaknesses in their own script.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, because that distance allows them to see, you know, what is not really working or functioning in their own script. And it's easier when their turn comes. And it's very, very nice and convivial, and no one is trying to impose anything culturally or story-wise, just plausibility, functionality, whether the characters are really, you know, fleshy enough and not superficial, or the story, you know, and it all comes from them.
It seems to me that the films that you enjoy to produce move away from what we tend to think of as issue-based films. From knowing you, from having discussions in the past, I know that you're looking for the humanity within the films rather than the issues within the films. Do you ever feel that there's pressure, perhaps probably more from abroad than from inside, to make a particular kind of film, to make a film about Islamic fundamentalism, to make a particular film about poverty or what have you, to make a film?
No, it's not a cahier charge like that for me. It's more I mean, it's not the subject that we choose at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's more, I'm more interested, we are more with Lina, my colleague, in the treatment, in the way human beings are treated, perceived, how we are more interested, if you want, more interested in the intricacies of the human soul, of the, you know, the dark and the white side of the human soul. That's what really, and if, for example, it ends up talking about poverty or radical Islamism, why not? But it shouldn't be the starting point for us. Maybe it's a mistake, because, but that's how we work.
Have you ever thought about literary adaptations? Have you read a novel that you think, or a short story, this is what I want?
Yes. And I read years ago a short story by Doris Lessing, which I loved, called To Room 19.
Mm-hmm.
And I really loved that. I don't know if you know it.
I don't, unfortunately, yeah.
And I really wanted to, I've never thought of making a film, but that particular story, I really liked it. And Doris Lessing was alive at the time. And of course, I was so in love of the story that I said, we cannot afford to buy the rights. So I wrote to her, and she answered, and she said, if I like the script, I will try to give you it for free. But of course, there was no script. Yes, there is one with Lina, one version.
Mm-hmm.
It was very, very difficult to adapt it to the screen, to the And of course, I wasn't. I was ashamed to send that version because it wasn't good enough. She died in between, and I have still that script in front of me. So maybe one day.
One day, inshallah. The most recent film that you've produced that's well, sort of appeared as Suad, of course, co-produced with Film Clinic. It was chosen in Cannes official selection. What does that mean for you in this COVID moment? What did it mean for you that it was selected by Cannes?
I mean, for us and for Eitan mainly, she chose Cannes. It's such a recognition, and she really said, "I don't want to wait for Venice because it was listed in Venice. I really want to go to Cannes. I want to have the label."
Yeah,
and we said, "Fine, yeah." And I think it's great. It's even though it's a very, very special year, it's a terrible year. But for Eitan and for us, it's great because Eitan now will count as a filmmaker. It's her second feature. She is amazing, and it will open doors to her for other films, for other projects. And I'm glad that I contributed a bit to that.
More than a bit, I'm sure. And how will people be seeing it?
I'm sorry?
How will people be able to see it in the next few months, let's say?
Actually, we don't know. I mean, there will be Guna probably. We send it to Berlin because they asked for a link. People ask seeing it either hopefully in cinemas, because I still believe in cinemas, in the dark room. We'll wait. We didn't want to send it to any online festivals. For me, I know there is no other choice. It's a pis-aller, it's a possibility, but it shouldn't be the only possibility. So it will be released also in cinemas, hopefully when we'll go back to normal.
Yeah.
Inshallah soon. So yeah, Guna, if it doesn't go to Berlin, other festivals, and theatrical release. I really believe in theatrical release. That's where film should be.
How have the last few months, particularly under lockdown, changed your own viewing habits? Have you found that you've been watching more online than you ever did before, or have you been surprised, on the contrary, that you thought you were going to be watching more, but it hasn't happened?
Actually, it was. I was in Tunis for the lockdown, and it was interesting to see how in King of an Eye, I mean, you can change your. It was nice to be at home. I can admit that. I must recognize that. To be at home, to do some, when you cannot do anything, and you start tidying up everything as if you are tidying up your mind. You see, for example, all my bookshelves. I mean, they were all upside, so I tried to do that. And I didn't watch more than usual because I do it for work. For pleasure, I'd rather go to cinemas, and I read more than I watched things. I watched some of Netflix series because I never watched series before, or very few, and I watched a few during one or two. But I read books. Yeah. And I mean, we are human beings, and we have a sense of adaptability that is amazing. And you can see that in times of crisis, or So we can adapt to other things. We'll see what will happen. We are we are living in times that are really improbable, and we don't know. I think we will go back to normal, but I hope differently, because at least if this pandemic, it can serve for good things as well, for relearning how to look at nature, to look at so many things, to teach our kids, our grandkids, to look at the world differently.
Yeah, to fall in love with the place we live again, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Is something that I'm hoping for as well. And I like what you said about we're human beings. I've had a bit of a frustration, and I imagine you have too, with all of the discussions of the death of cinema. This is going to hasten the death of cinema. More things are going to be online. But I think all of the doomsayers who talk about this forget that as human beings, we have a psychological need to be in that dark room, to be with other people, to have people laughing around us, to have people crying around us.
Yeah, exactly. You said something at the beginning that we cinema people, maybe for other people as well in the other professions, but cinema says something. We live in a bubble, you know. And for example, I can give you an example early. I mean, which I'm supposed to go to Venice for the first, for the jury.
Yeah.
But coming from Tunisia, it might be a problem.
Yes.
Because I need to have 2 weeks of confinement, of lockdown, which is a bit, and then for 2 or 3 hours, it became my major problem. And then, come on, this is stupid. If I go, it will be fantastic. If there is a lockdown to do, I will not go. And that's it. I mean, you see how we make small things that are not vital when you see what's going on in the world. Lebanon, my God. And I said, come on, I'm so stupid. It became, I'm so stupid, you know, it become the biggest problem, you know, for 2 hours. And that's, come on, drop it. We'll see. I'll talk tomorrow to the master and see what we can do. You see, it's also, you know, part of the bubble we live in.
Absolutely, it is. And relearning how to negotiate that bubble, relearning what is important, and how to push away the anxieties that we realize really aren't worth the worry.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when to really worry, when to, you know, we are always learning something as human beings every day, every minute, that's the best part, I guess.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And relearning how to be human, how to be.
Yes. Maybe we should relearn how to be human today.
Yeah. No. I think,
yeah. To readapt our, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Apropos of that, you and I, of course, had a brief conversation yesterday where we were talking about how to hold on to a sense of optimism, particularly now at a moment when it feels like such a struggle. And so you were talking about a belief in the younger generation. So I'd like you to maybe talk a bit more about what you're seeing that gives you pause to step back for a moment from the anxiety and say, okay, yeah. I can trust the world that my children and my grandchildren are going to inherit or going to.
It's true. Yeah. As I said, I mean, I need to have that small dose of optimism to move forward. And I do have it. And because I spent quite a lot of time with young people, with young filmmakers, with not filmmakers, you know, even I can see my daughters and their friends, they are pragmatic. I don't think they were. Maybe we always say that what we know, the past, is always better than the unknown, of course. But I think things were easier. I think maybe it's not right, but this is what I feel. Mm-hmm. The world has become much tougher for the humans and for the young people. I'm not talking about the tools and the etc. That's not the world. But and when I look at them and I see them facing this world, which is quite tough, they do it in a very pragmatic way. They have no choice. They have to face many things, and they face it with pragmatism, with no intellectualism. They don't have illusions. That we lived in a world where illusions were very omnipresent, where we had dreams, where political ideologies. I mean, it helped forge your personality, and it helped you dream. I don't think they have all that. They have other things. They face the problems, they face the world they live in, and that makes me believe in the future. And I don't want to be a pessimist saying, oh my God, it's terrible. No.
No, I think we all always have this idea that the past is somehow better. We know that really isn't ultimately true, and nostalgia is a very dangerous thing to play with, notwithstanding the fact that we are aware of how awful this particular moment is in time. But there are a few things that we were talking about that we can, I think, feel good about. The idea that the younger generations have been embracing the fight against global warming is very heartening. But also for me, recently, talking to friends in the MENA region, reading different independent news sites, also particularly about the Me Too movement and sexual harassment, and how younger women are finally connecting, maybe that's the best word to use, with their feelings about this and doing something about it. How are you perceiving this?
How am I perceiving what exactly?
It seems to me that we know that there's a lot of trauma, that
Yeah.
That people have been afraid, that young women in particular have been afraid to express. And now there's a rage and a willingness to express that. I guess, my question was too general. How do we channel that energy into something that's positive?
Yeah, I totally agree that this should be channeled into something positive and not living people being afraid of one another. That's bad. I would hate to live in a world where people are afraid. I'm a woman or I'm a man, and if I talk to a woman, it can very quickly change. To be at ease is very important, and to be like what's going on in some of the countries. I mean, that people cannot talk anymore. Anything can be perceived as sexual harassment. We shouldn't go to the extremes. I think it's a great thing that women or men, because some also could express this harassment and say it, and people are punished. And I think it's great. It's high time. I'm even surprised that it took such a long time.
Yeah.
that women started to talk. Really,
yeah.
Why didn't they talk before?
Yeah, good question.
Really, I'm still, whenever I think of Me Too and all this, I said, why didn't they it said anything before?
I've had a bit of a WhatsApp exchange while we've been waiting. Unfortunately, there seems to be some kind of technical problem. We're unable to reconnect, not just to Dora, but also to others, which is peculiar, and we're not really certain how to get it back. So I'm afraid with enormous apologies that we're going to have to end here. It seemed to me like we were just really getting started, not getting started, but moving forward. And so my apologies to everyone. Thank you very much for joining. Please feel free to leave comments on the ACC website, on the Twitter page, on the Instagram account. And hopefully we will be able to reconnect another time to continue with this, with other conversations, with other luminaries from the MENA region. And I hope that you join us in the future. Thank you so much.